It's 2 in the morning at JFK. The crowd is thin, the lights harsh. A man in a gray hoodie sits slumped beside 3 giant suitcases. His face is hidden, but anyone who's followed 90 Day Fiance knows that frame. It looks like Florian Sukaj. No camera crew, no TLC lighting, no Stacey in sight. Only an airport bench, a ticket out of America, and a silence heavier than any tell-all fight. Whispers are already flying. Viewers claim police cars were seen near the Silva home earlier this week. Nothing confirmed, but the timing feels strange. 1 minute Florian is posting gym selfies, the next he's allegedly vanishing through an international terminal. The contrast is brutal, Connecticut calm on one end, airport chaos on the other. I'm Sabrina, and you're watching TLC Drama Live. If you've been following the Silva saga since their quarantine wedding, hit subscribe right now. This story is about to turn darker than any storyline TLC ever aired. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you Team Stacey or Team Florian? Because after tonight, it's hard to tell who's the real victim. The official story says Florian's visiting family back in Albania, but insiders are hinting something deeper. Visa problems, a sudden investigation, maybe even a notice that could keep him from coming back. No one at TLC is talking, and Stacey hasn't posted in days. Her usual twin selfies are gone, replaced by total silence. Fans are asking, did she know? Did production know? Or did everyone find out the same way, through one grainy airport photo that looks more like an arrest snapshot than a farewell? This isn't the usual Silva meltdown about jealousy or Instagram likes. This feels final. Papers signed. Doors closing. A man leaving behind a TV marriage that might not survive the customs line. So what's happening here? Is this the moment a fairy tale love story collapses under real-world consequences, or the start of an immigration nightmare that no one on reality TV saw coming? When fans first met Stacey and Florian, it felt like a fairy tale built for television. The beautiful twin with the designer wardrobe and the loyal fiancé from overseas. Their story hit every emotional note TLC knows how to play. The long-distance calls, the waiting through the cone visa process, the tears at the airport when he finally arrived in America. It was edited like a reward for patience, proof that love wins when you fight for it. They filmed the wedding during the pandemic, intimate, rushed but emotional. Stacey looked radiant, convinced she'd found the calm version of the chaos that always followed Darcey's heartbreaks. TLC's cameras painted Florian as the quiet rock, the balance to Stacey's high energy. The tagline sold it perfectly. He loved her for her, not for fame, not for money. Fans wanted to believe it. After all the Silva drama, this one felt different, stable, mature. Then came the rebrand, the twin empire, the fashion line, the beauty products, the influencer push. Stacey and Florian became the model couple, half of the Silva brand. While Darcey chased new love, Stacey stood as proof that the dream could work. But between the polished photos and glossy interviews, something subtle started to crack. On live streams, Florian looked distant. He'd scroll his phone when Stacey spoke. Fans started noticing how often she'd laugh nervously after he ignored her. He rarely said much beyond, "I love you baby," or "You stress me out." When followers asked about his modeling gigs or green card updates, comments disappeared or got turned off. Nothing dramatic, but the energy was off. By the time season after season rolled by, viewers began questioning what they were really watching. Was it devotion or dependency? When Florian snapped at her over wedding dresses, when he refused to talk about his job, when he gave half answers about his past, it didn't look like love anymore. It looked like someone living a double life under the same roof. That contrast between the TLC fantasy and the unfiltered live streams became impossible to ignore. The network gave us a romance built on emotional payoff. But fans on Reddit and Instagram started piecing together a different plot. A story of control, silence, and paperwork quietly expiring in the background while the cameras focused on eyelashes and outfits. And now that same paperwork, the one that once promised a life together, is allegedly what's pulling it all apart. The question haunting everyone is whether that cone visa was the beginning of true love, or the first chapter of the collapse we're watching unfold now. A cone visa isn't romantic paperwork. It's a government document that turns love into a legal process. When an American brings a foreign fiancé to the US, they have 90 days to marry or leave. That's why the show is called 90 Day Fiancé. It's not about emotions, it's about a ticking clock set by immigration law. Once married, the couple must prove the relationship is real. That means photos together, shared bills, proof of communication, visits, and affidavits from friends or family. It's meant to protect the system from fake marriages created only to get a green card. For most couples, this stage is stressful but doable. For others, it becomes a maze of interviews, documents, and pressure. Officers ask everything: what side of the bed you sleep on, what your partner eats for breakfast, where you met, who proposed first. The answers don't have to be perfect, but they have to match. Honesty is the key, because lying on any immigration form is a serious federal offense. Even small inconsistencies, wrong dates, missing signatures, or unclear divorce records can trigger a review. If the applicant was married before, things get even stricter. The government wants proof that the previous marriage ended legally before the new one began. It's not about judging someone's past, it's about protecting the integrity of the process. If one divorce decree is fake or filed too late, it can make the new marriage void in the eyes of the law. And once that happens, everything that came after the visa, the green card, even the TV wedding can fall apart. That's what makes this case so tense for fans watching the Silva story unfold. The timeline between Florian's supposed divorce and his Cone visa application has always been tight. Too tight, according to some online discussions and legal experts commenting on public forums. They noticed gaps, rushed filings, and silence from both TLC and the couple when questions came up. The truth is, one mistake in this process can't be hidden forever. The system catches up eventually, especially if it involves conflicting records between two countries. A missing stamp or a forged signature can turn a fairy tale into a fraud investigation. So the question now isn't just whether Florian and Stacey were in love. It's whether the love story they sold to millions was built on honest paperwork or on a gamble that the truth would never surface. From the start, Florian's body language told a story long before the words did. Every time Stacey tried to ask simple questions about his past, his career plans, or why certain documents took so long, he'd tense up. His shoulders would rise, his tone would harden, and his replies would shrink to one or two words. Fans called it the wall. It showed up again and again, across seasons. During dinner scenes with Darcey, the pattern grew sharper. The moment conversation turned toward money or marriage logistics, Florian would look down, grin tightly, and mutter that everyone was too dramatic. Viewers laughed at first, assuming it was a language barrier or personality clash. But when you watch the clips now, the reactions seem less like confusion and more like strategy, someone managing information, not emotions. Then came the hotel scandal, the episode that changed how fans saw him forever. A video surfaced showing Florian with another woman, a model named Shanti or Shaj depending on which platform you read. The footage was vague, but the impact was huge. On screen, Stacey's voice cracked, Darcey's fury flared, and Florian's face turned cold. He admitted being there but swore nothing happened. Most fans focused on whether he cheated. But the real clue was how he handled the confrontation. He didn't argue like someone wrongly accused, he argued like someone afraid of exposure. He cried, but not from heartbreak. It felt like panic, the kind of panic that comes when a story you've rehearsed starts slipping out of your control. Every time the topic came back, he'd change it. When Darcey pressed him, he'd pivot to how much he loved Stacey. When Stacey asked for clarity, he'd accuse her of not trusting him. It was emotional judo, flipping every question into guilt. Over time, the pattern became impossible to ignore. When challenged, he'd either go silent or explode, never explain. That silence became its own language. It filled the spaces between them, even in tender moments. On live streams, he'd scroll through his phone while Stacey talked about future plans. On social media, he'd post cryptic photos or quotes about loyalty right after a fight aired on TV. Fans started joking that Florian was a mystery wrapped in muscle. But now, that mystery looks more like a shield. The behavior isn't proof of guilt, but it shows intent. A man who hides details, deflects hard questions, and keeps timelines fuzzy isn't simply shy. He's maintaining control. The more we review his on-screen reactions, the more it seems less about fear of conflict and more about fear of discovery. And that brings us to the next layer, the one the cameras never captured fully. Because when you follow the trail off-screen, the story shifts from awkward silences and jealous fights to something that hits harder. The money and the paperwork tell a version of this relationship that TLC never aired, and that version changes everything. Money has always been the quiet third person in Stacey and Florian's marriage. From the earliest episodes, it was clear who carried the financial weight. Stacey bought the clothes, booked the trips, and paid the bills while Florian kept promising that modeling jobs were coming soon. Fans saw it on camera, the new shoes, the designer jackets, the endless talk of building his brand with no visible results. It became part of the Silva storyline, the glamorous woman funding a dream she hoped would one day pay her back in loyalty. That power imbalance shaped everything. When one partner pays for everything, they also buy the illusion that love can be maintained through stability. It makes confrontation harder. If Stacey ever pushed too hard about money or work, she risked hearing the one thing no one wants in a relationship. If you don't trust me, maybe I should go. So she smiled, rationalized, and kept paying. Many viewers understood that instinct. Once you've invested years, a wedding, and your reputation on national TV, walking away feels like admitting failure. Florian's public persona leaned on charm and confusion. He'd shrug off questions about income with lines like, modeling is hard, or pandemic slow everything. Fans gave him grace for a while, assuming cultural adjustment or language issues. But over time, his lifestyle didn't match his career claims. Expensive watches appeared in posts. A new car, a trip here, a photo shoot there, but no agency credits or campaigns anyone could verify. It all looked curated for image, not earned through work. Online discussions started connecting dots. Viewers noticed that Stacey's business ventures always aligned with Florian's upgrades. Every time she launched a new product or promoted a collab, he suddenly had something new to show off. It became a cycle of give and take that looked less like partnership and more like quiet dependency. Financial dependence also creates emotional silence. The partner providing money often avoids hard truths because they fear destabilizing everything they've built. It's easier to believe that next month will be different, that the love will catch up to the spending. But when the imbalance becomes routine, the silence turns into denial. Fans noticed that silence too. On lives, Stacey would joke about paying for things, and Florian would force a smile. The joke stopped landing once the rumors of visa trouble surfaced. Suddenly, what seemed like harmless banter about money started to feel like evidence of something darker, a pattern of control built on financial strings. That's the part of every sponsor's nightmare. The thought that the love story they're funding might not be shared at all. Because once those bank transfers and receipts enter the conversation, affection becomes a transaction. And in this case, some fans believe those transfers might not have ended inside the Silva household. They might have been feeding another life entirely, one far from Connecticut, in a country Florian once called home. For Stacey Silva, love has always been a public performance. Every relationship she's ever had has played out under bright studio lights, shared confessionals, and millions of opinions online. Viewers have watched her cry in designer heels, patch things up mid-argument, and declare this time it's different. With Darcey by her side, the two built their brand on romantic hope. The twins promised that even after humiliation and heartbreak, they'd still believe in love. It was their selling point, their entire identity. But being the believer in love comes with a cost. Every time Stacey vouched for Florian, she put her reputation on the line, not only as a woman, but as a Silva. Fans mocked her for being naive, while tabloids replayed her most emotional moments in slow motion. Yet through every season she doubled down. Florian's my rock, she'd say, even when his actions didn't match the words. That persistence wasn't blind devotion, it was survival. If she admitted he wasn't loyal, she'd also be admitting she ignored what everyone else already saw. Her sister Darcey's dating history made it worse. Darcey's breakups became viral memes, her meltdowns turned into gifs. Stacey had to prove she was different, the grounded twin, the one who got the fairytale ending, so she took the opposite approach. Where Darcey chased drama, Stacey defended calm. She believed patience was proof of maturity. She thought loyalty would fix what love couldn't. There's a particular kind of shame that comes from defending someone in public, only to realize privately they might have betrayed you. Stacey's entire circle, from her father to her fans, warned her about red flags. She heard them, but love felt safer than loneliness. Each argument, each apology, was another layer of justification. She'd built too much around the idea that Florian was her person. Admitting the truth now means watching that version of herself collapse. You can almost picture her scrolling through old photos, wedding clips, the glamorous couple shots that once made her feel seen. Behind every smile, there's probably a thought she's trying to bury. Did I build my dream life around a lie? The internet can be cruel, but this time, even longtime critics feel sympathy. Because if the reports about travel and investigations are true, Stacey isn't just heartbroken, she's blindsided. The same public that mocked her for loving too hard now watches her face the consequences of that love. So where does she go from here? Is she the fool who refused to listen, or the survivor who'll use this heartbreak to rebuild everything stronger than before? TLC has always known how to tell a story that looks romantic but feels chaotic. The 90-Day Fiance franchise turns real immigration procedures into cliffhangers, trimming out the paperwork and replacing it with emotional confessionals. The goal isn't accuracy, it's entertainment. We see the love, the tears, the big airport hugs, but rarely the months of background checks, the interviews, or the red flags that get quietly buried before filming starts. The network edits the process into a tidy arc: struggle, misunderstanding, redemption. It keeps audiences rooting for a payoff while hiding how unpredictable the system behind the scenes really is. That's why so many viewers forget that cone visas involve federal scrutiny, not just romantic hurdles. The cameras can't follow someone into a government interview, so what we get instead is a dramatized version, one that often ends before the real problems begin. Over the years, we've seen this pattern repeat with other couples. Some made headlines when visa petitions were denied or delayed after filming. Others ended up in legal trouble that never made it into their TLC storyline. In my opinion, that's the quiet trade-off the network makes. They keep the fantasy clean so the chaos stays online, not on air. When fans later uncover real immigration documents, police reports, or financial disputes, it always feels like a betrayal. But technically, the show never promised to tell the full truth. It promised a love story, and love stories are easier to sell when the lawyers stay off camera. The emotional moments are real, but they're curated. We see the hugs, not the hearings. From a production standpoint, it's smart business. The network isn't legally responsible for verifying every document a couple submits, that's on the government. TLC can simply film what's available, insert a disclaimer, and move on. If a storyline later collapses because of legal issues, they already have their next season lined up. That's what makes situations like Stacey and Florian's feel so heavy. Viewers believe their wedding was closure, not a setup for a new investigation. Yet while the network enjoys another round of ratings, the cast faces the fallout in real life, financially, legally, and emotionally. It's the silent rule of reality TV. The network protects itself, while the stars become the story. And if Florian's rumored visa issues are as serious as fans suspect, that silence from TLC isn't indifference, it's self-preservation. Because when real federal agencies get involved, the cameras stop rolling, and someone else ends up taking the fall. In the past few weeks, the silence around Stacey and Florian has spoken louder than any statement. Fans noticed first: no new couple posts, no cross-promotion of their fashion brand, no live streams from their Connecticut home. For two people who built a career on visibility, that kind of quiet is deafening. The last photo on Stacey's feed shows a polished selfie, perfectly lit, but without her husband in frame. Florian's page, once filled with mirror shots and gym clips, suddenly went cold. The dates line up almost exactly with the travel rumors. Then came the blurry airport picture that set everything off. Some claim it shows Florian sitting alone with heavy luggage, waiting for an international flight. Others argue it could be an old photo recycled by fans. No one can verify where or when it was taken. What makes it stick is timing. Days before that image spread, several fan pages started circulating claims about an immigration notice. Nothing official, no documents released, but the chatter took off. The common thread in all these discussions is the idea of a revocation or review, words that spark fear in anyone who's been through the visa process. To be clear, these are theories. No official agency has confirmed any such action. What we can say is that Florian's alleged departure, paired with Stacey's online silence, fits a familiar pattern from past 90-day couples when immigration complications surfaced. The partner stays offline, the American half posts motivational quotes, and the show moves on without explanation. If those fan theories were ever proven true, the consequences would hit hard. Deportation or barred reentry wouldn't just end a relationship, it would dismantle the Silva brand's international image. Their joint business ventures, appearance bookings, and sponsorships all rely on the idea of a glamorous transatlantic couple. Without Florian physically present, that illusion breaks. For Stacey, it could also mean losing the financial and emotional investment she's defended for years. For Florian, it would mean starting over in Albania with a reputation tainted by public scandal. Even if the truth is simpler, a personal break, a family visit, or private marital tension, the optics are brutal. The audience has turned the story into a puzzle, and each missing post becomes another clue. In the era of social media, silence always fills with speculation. Right now, three forces are quietly shaping what happens next. The government, which controls whether Florian can return. TLC, which decides whether to acknowledge or erase this arc from the show, and the twins, who control the narrative online. The question isn't just what happened between Stacey and Florian. It's who gets to tell their story now, the agency with the power to approve visas, the network with the power to edit truth, or the sisters who have turned heartbreak into content for years. Morning in the Silva house must feel unreal. The rooms that once echoed with filming crews and laughter now hold only silence and the dull hum of appliances. Stacey wakes up alone, the spot beside her cold, no message, no call, no trace of the man she defended through every scandal. The blinds stay half closed, maybe to block the light, maybe to block the view of waiting cameras parked outside. Reporters linger by the driveway, hoping for the first word, the first tear, the first confirmation that Florian is really gone. The reality hits in small ways first. His shoes by the door, a toothbrush missing from the sink, the scent of cologne fading from the hall. Then the practical side of heartbreak sets in: bank alerts, joint cards declined, emails about bills she thought were already paid. If the rumors about frozen accounts are true, Stacey isn't just dealing with betrayal. She's dealing with a financial mess built around someone who may never step foot in the US again. For a woman who has spent years proving her strength, this is the nightmare version of vulnerability. Cameras have always been both her armor and her exposure. Now she faces the one crisis that even reality TV can't package neatly: a personal implosion that doesn't fit into an episode format. The same producers who once followed her to fittings and beauty treatments now wait for her to cry on cue. But this time, she isn't performing. Darcey has been here before. She knows the humiliation, the judgment, the sting of "I told you so." But when it's your twin, that line disappears. Family sources claim Darcey's reaction has shifted from anger to protection. She said on past episodes that "no one hurts my sister." And if that's still true, she's likely already preparing to turn the family pain into a new storyline of empowerment. The twins understand one truth better than anyone: pain sells, but resilience sells longer. Still, you can almost feel Darcey's frustration bubbling under the surface. She warned Stacey about moving too fast, about ignoring red flags, about how fame attracts opportunists. She's been through Jesse, Tom, Georgie, each time promising to choose better next round. Watching her sister live the same cycle must cut deep. The difference is that this time, the world might agree with her. The sympathy that once leaned toward Florian has flipped. And yet, empathy doesn't have to end where accountability begins. Florian's choices, if the allegations hold any truth, deserve consequences. But there's also a human side to his collapse. A man from a smaller European town, raised under rigid tradition, dropped into a reality TV empire built on glamour and scrutiny. The pressure to perform, to prove worth in a world where image is currency, can break people who don't understand the rules. His silence and outbursts might have been fear: fear of losing status, fear of losing his place in a country that measured his value by a storyline. That doesn't excuse manipulation or deception. It only explains how desperation grows when pride meets opportunity. If Florian truly left under immigration pressure, he's now facing humiliation in two worlds: the American one that accused him and the Albanian one that will see him return as the man who couldn't make it. For Stacey, the heartbreak is public, but the paperwork will be private. Insiders whisper about legal counsel, annulment consultations, asset separation. It's standard after a Cohn marriage collapses under controversy, but emotionally, it's war. Every form she fills out will remind her that she once signed documents promising to love, honor, and financially support the same man she now has to protect herself from. Still, there's a quiet strength in the way she's handling the silence. No rage posts, no sobbing lives, no cryptic captions, just distance. For a Silva, that's a new language. Maybe it's exhaustion, maybe it's strategy. Fans are already speculating that she's gearing up for a rebrand, Stacey Rising, or something similar, turning heartbreak into another comeback arc. She's done it before. The next few weeks will decide everything. If Florian speaks publicly, the story could twist again. If legal documents surface, the marriage could shift from heartbreak to potential fraud. Either way, Stacey's next move will define her more than any TV edit ever could. She's at the crossroads every public woman faces: collapse in silence or rebuild under the spotlight. And somewhere out there, a man sits on foreign soil, scrolling through headlines about himself, realizing that silence doesn't protect you once the story escapes your control. The papers, the money, the love, all threads of one tangled mess. But one thing feels certain now: Stacey Silva isn't done. She's wounded, yes, but she's watching, waiting, and planning. And if the whispers about an annulment filing are true, The next chapter won't be a breakdown, it'll be a battle. Love can blind you faster than fame can fix you. When you first saw Florian and Stacey, you saw the promise, an immigrant fairytale, two people proving that love beats distance, culture, and judgment. But what we've seen since then is what happens when love meets paperwork, when emotion meets bureaucracy, and when trust gets tested by money and visibility. This story isn't unique to the Silvas. It's the story of how relationships can warp under pressure when one person holds emotional power and the other holds financial survival. On screen, everything looks scripted to perfection. Off screen, the cracks start small. A missing receipt, a vague story about a job, a fight brushed off as stress. Before long, the truth and the show version of life become two different scripts running in parallel. What makes this case so haunting is how fast it shifted from glamour to chaos. One photo of Florian at the airport turned months of suspicion into a full-blown saga. It reminded everyone how fragile televised love can be when real-world systems are involved. Immigration isn't a storyline, it's law. Money isn't proof of love, it's leverage. And trust without transparency can turn into dependence before you even notice it. For anyone watching this as entertainment, there's a deeper message underneath. It's easy to laugh at the drama, but it's harder to admit how common these patterns are. You don't need to be on reality TV to fall into the same traps. Maybe it's the partner who never shares financial details. Maybe it's someone who dodges questions about their past or keeps their paperwork private. Maybe it's the guilt trips, the sudden defensiveness, the way every argument turns into you apologizing first. These aren't random quirks. They're small signs of imbalance that grow when left unchecked. In my opinion, love only works when both people stand on equal ground, emotionally, financially, and legally. The moment one partner has to beg for honesty, the relationship shifts from partnership to performance. And that performance can drain everything: your savings, your self-worth, your sense of reality. Stacey's story, like so many before her, shows that no amount of TV lighting or fan support can protect you from a relationship built on uneven power. There's also a truth here about how fame magnifies mistakes. Reality TV doesn't create toxicity, it amplifies it. The cameras don't invent deceit, they just catch it from a better angle. Every red flag we ignored because it was good TV now looks like a warning we all missed in real time. TLC sold a dream because the audience wanted one, but dreams only last until the documents catch up. It's tempting to see Florian as the villain and Stacey as the victim, but life is rarely that simple. He might have been desperate, chasing opportunity the only way he knew how. She might have been addicted to hope, chasing validation from a world that measures worth in followers. Both got trapped in a machine that rewards heartbreak more than healing. That's the irony of this franchise: love is the headline, but pain is the product. If there's any lesson here, it's this: honesty has a paper trail, lies do too, one always catches the other. No amount of editing can rewrite legal truth, and no amount of tears can erase financial records. For viewers, it's a reminder to separate entertainment from evidence, empathy from enablement. Support the people, not the illusion. Go back to that first image, the one of Florian sitting alone at the airport. At the time, it looked like another dramatic exit. Now it feels like a symbol of something bigger: how fast a forever can end when love and legality collide. One seat, three suitcases, and a silence heavy enough to end a season. The story might feel over, but this cycle repeats itself across the franchise. Another couple is already showing the same warning signs: money unaccounted for, stories that don't add up, tension boiling under social media perfection. You'll recognize the pattern the moment you see it, because on this show, the names change, the visas change, but the lesson never does. Love without truth isn't romance, it's risk. And next time, we'll follow another 90-day couple walking that same tightrope between devotion and deception. Stay tuned, because the next story is already writing itself.